is an episode on the Virtuous Woman Show you don't want to miss. We're discussing how to choose a life partner. What is it really that you have to look out for when choosing a partner? Is it the beauty, the money, the chemistry? What is it really? We're speaking to Doreen, a professional coach who has 22 years of marriage experience. Let's hear what she has to say when it comes to choosing a life partner.
Who is Doreen?
Charlie, that's like that's an interest. That's like putting me on an interview again. You know when you attend all of those job interviews and like, tell me a bit about yourself. And you're not sure if you should tell from. You should just keep it to the job, or you should start telling your full life story. No, but so I'm just an African woman who has a passion for owning your life, and using your personal power or personal mastery to create the kind of life that you want in your relationships, in your home, and to transform workplace culture, really. I wear many hats though. So I have a full-time job. Always have had a full-time job since 2001. Okay. I'm a mother. I have 2 young adults. I've been married. So I was born Doreen Angel.
Okay.
She's a very nice name. So, but however, I think in 96, so that's 24 years ago, I met this gentleman called Agyekumwaa. And 2 years afterwards, he kind of convinced me to dog Doreen Angel.
Become Doreen.
And become Doreen Buffo. So I've been on this journey with him for the last 22 years, almost. Yeah, so we met in June 1996, and we got married in November 1998. Wow. So, yeah, and between the two of us, yeah. It's, we're still journeying on.
Oh. One day we'll talk about that journey.
You know.
So today, what made you say, this is the man? I've seen a lot of men, but I think this is the one I want to settle down with.
So it's very interesting, Agyekumwaa, because mine is very unlike how it's done today. Mm-hmm. I didn't go through all of the. Lately, I know that thanks to advancements in premarital counseling and real conversations around it, people actually go through deliberate steps. When I was growing up, I didn't have the benefit of that kind of conversation with other people. Okay. So I don't think that, I remember going to my mom and asking, during the period we were planning to get married, and asking, how do I know that I am sure? And she said to me, you will never be sure. She said, you will never be sure, because for all of it, it's actually a journey, you know. But if there's anything that, so my husband is called Echo. If there's anything that made me comfortable to embark on this journey with Echo, it was that I felt comfortable with him in his company, you know. So, you know, they say that all of us are born and we have to do life. So no matter what, so long as you are alive, you have to do life. What that means is that you have to live life. And living life, there are choices you will make. Okay. And then how you do life also, they say it's a function of who you are, so your being. But also, there's also that element of what life deals to you. Okay. So no matter what life deals to you, you still have to do life, you know. But at a point in your life, you will have to make that choice on who you want to do this life with. Because it's not as though you make this choice and then you stop doing life, you know. So you make the choice on who you want to do this life with. Okay. For me, I guess back then it was just being very comfortable with him, that we could have conversations. I've always been this one who says all of those things that I'm thinking, like have real conversations, you know. And I found him then really deep to have those conversations with. And we kind of there were a lot of things that was very similar about us. So I remember that even before a relationship started, before we said we're actually in a relationship, I used to live with my uncle and his wife. And I remember my uncle's wife saying, hey, this man, if he says he likes you, you have to like him back because you guys are the same. I've always been really particular about, so I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Okay.
Recovering because I think that there's, at a point I kind of realized the excesses, the over extensions, over usages of that good quality. So I picked that phrase from one of my coaches. So I like to use it a lot. But back then, with all my immaturity, things had to be done in a particular way for me. I'm fixated on laying the bed in a way that is smooth. I'm fixated on not seeing on the floor being clearly clean. I'm fixated on having my dishes in my dish rack arranged in ascending or descending order, like ascending this way and descending. I'm extremely fixated on putting your shirts in a particular corner and putting your pants or trousers in a particular corner. Okay. I'm fixated, that kind of thing. So I've always, and back then I didn't have the benefit of all these personality assessments that gave me a language to use to make me feel that I wasn't crazy, that it was actually me, But my mom used to joke about it. She says, only a few men can marry you the way you are. One day you come back and the man has packed his things and run away. But with Eko, I kind of realized he was like that as well. So that was like the first time I met the male version of me.
Okay.
So we gelled on that level. Okay. And so for me, that was just it. Okay. It was way after that we now started talking about the other bits on whether we gelled in this area or not, but we gelled really like that. Yeah.
So there have been a number of divorce cases recently, and personally, I know a number of people who divorced last year, like 5 people who divorced last year. And most people believe that it is because the choosing process does not go well. So if you have a younger sister who comes to you and asks you, what do I look out for to choose a better partner? I won't say right because they might not be right or wrong, but a better partner to go on this journey with. What would be your answer?
So with the benefit of experience, I think that journey, that choice, making that choice starts with knowing you first. I think it's critical. And I would like to borrow the phrase used by Marcus Beckingham, the gentleman behind Strength Finder and Standout Assessments. He says that a lot of the times we say I do before we say I am.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's really important that you take time to kind of evaluate this being called you, what it is that you want, what's your journey been like so far, what is it that you bring to this journey of your own life, what are the things that you aspire for or aspire to. I think it's really critical that you, if I were speaking to my little sister, I would say, let's do that with you. Did I do that for myself? Deliberately, no. But I keep saying to people that just like all of us, our benchmark for parenting would be our parents until we suddenly come to that realization that maybe there were some inadequacies in their method to begin to look out for what could have been better, So for me, I think it was the benefit I had growing up was the fact that my father was a lover of books.
Okay.
And really early enough, I got to read things like As a Man Thinketh, The Power of Positive Thinking, all of these books that you would not expect a little girl to read. I kind of read through them in my teenage years. So I asked questions. Plus, my mom was such a good role model. When I asked, I said, one time I asked, how do I know that he's the one? And she said, she said to me that, you have to take that risk, but when I said to her I felt unsure, she said to me that she's sure because she knows how she's raised me. And if it wasn't this man, this particular year, she was so sure that the following year, another man would come asking for my hand in marriage. That's how confident my mother was in how she had raised me. So I would say to my sister, let's actually have a conversation on who you are, what you, your personality as, and what is it that makes living, how do you live life? Like, what is it, how will you describe this being called you? Then just like organizations take time to do, I would say let's have a conversation of the story of her life, just so that she finds out those things that are really important to her and what she envisages life to be, you know, because then in doing that, you kind of know the journey you're on, this life you're doing and will continue doing, so that when you're bringing somebody into that picture to do life with, you're sure where it is you're going in the first place, to have somebody for you to do life with that person. Because once that person comes in, you will still continue to do life. But what life, you know? So very important you know yourself first. But I also say that there are some conversations that you really, really need to have. But also there are great observations to make. So I remember the first time I went to say to my father, everybody in my house knew I was in a relationship apart from my father. You know how our fathers then were, you know. So with my father, I really just wanted to be sure that this was concrete, before I went to him. And so I remember I married really early. I married when I was still in the university, during my first degree. So I remember when I went to tell him that I had met a guy and we've been talking about getting married, and he says to come and ask what it would take to marry me. And my father sat back and looked at me and said, "You have a boyfriend?" Because he didn't know, you know. And I remember him asking my mom, Jane, Doreen says that somebody wants to come and marry her. And then my mom said, "Oh, yes." And then she mentioned my husband's name. And then he asked my big brother, and he looks at me and he says, "Am I the only one who doesn't know?" You know, but so yes, for her to know herself, but also to have conversations. But I remember the most instructive thing I took away from going to tell my father. He asked me, "Why do I want to get married?" You know, and I said to him, "Well, because I think I love this guy," you know. And he said to me, "But love is not enough for marriage." And I had really never thought about it like that. And so I kind of I gave him that look that says, "Really?" You know. And he said, "Yes, you need more than love. You need commitment to ensuring that this works," you know. And I said, "But how do I know that I have that?" And then he said, "You need to go back and observe him in every scenario and ask yourself the question that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if you had your young son on two small legs behave exactly like this person in particular circumstances, how comfortable will you be?" You know. And so I guess what he was telling me was to go back and be intentional about looking for how similar or what this gentleman brought on this journey that we're going to embark on together, so that in doing life together, we're doing life on the same journey, or he brings particular strengths or development areas that I am already aware of and I accept. But that whole bit of commitment to make it work is what my father said to me. So I remember coming back, it was in August, and I remember coming back and I said to him, well, my dad said to come back to him towards the end of the year and say to him if this is really what I wanted to continue. But I remember that for the first time, I kind of observed that when it comes to things that he cannot tolerate, he doesn't shy away from expressing it vigorously. Like if he's, he puts it by himself this way. He says, I don't have tolerance for negative things. And once that is triggered, he can, in my line of work, we call it overextending. So he can overextend when he's not comfortable with something. So I picked that up quickly by being intentional. But I told him, I said to him, my dad said, to come back and observe him in particular circumstances and see. But the great thing about him really is that he's not one who is he doesn't have a problem with expressing himself. So he knew and could verbalize what it was he was looking for, what journey he was embarking on. And for me, he actually took the lead in that regard, because then it gave me that it gave me the ability, or it set an example for me also to be able to speak to things that I wanted. So first, know you, but two, that person, what does that person bring? Be particular or be deliberate in knowing how that person or what they bring to that journey that you're going to embark on together. So know yourself and know that person as well. Thankfully, currently there are lots of tools that help people and make it easier. For me, I feel what the tools do is to give you the language for the two of you now to begin to have a conversation. So it's never to put people in a box. So it's not to say, as for me, you know, the text said I like order and you take me or you leave me. It's to give both of you a language that opens the door for conversations. So off the top of my head, the ones that I am specialized to use, I use the DISC, personality type indicator assessment. I use Luminous Spark. Very recently, I tried the standout assessment from Marcus Beckingham. But there are a number of others. There's the what is it called? The love language online. So you can actually take those online. So although my husband and I did the DICS when I first got certified, it was only, I think 2 weeks ago that he and I sat down to do a love language together. You know, and discuss it. And this is after doing this journey together for 22 years. We've been friends for 24 years, but been married for 22 of those years. So you can imagine we just did that and really started having, so now we're having conversations and more like critiquing the tool to say, is it real, you know? But we learned interesting things about each other, about what our real love languages are, you know, and start having conversations about them. So we're doing that way into the marriage, but the two of us have a commitment to making it work. I think that for people, if my sister is going to that journey today, I would say no ahead of time, just so that you have a language to discuss these things. If you haven't been encultured to express yourself and speak, and even have the words to describe what it is that you are, what you like, those tools just give you that kind of, it gives you the language and it opens the door so the two of you can have conversations, you know, and then you can assess if, okay, I can deal with this or I can't deal with this. But then there are real issues also to talk about after you've discovered yourself. Context, you know, I keep saying to people that I meet that the marriage, the whole context of marriage is changing right before our eyes from what we were used to when we were growing up. But we're not having conversations around them. And it's important that we do, because for a lot of us, especially for those in their, I am in my my mid 40s. I don't know why I said late, mid. I have to keep it at mid. So,
You want to go faster?
No. We're staying. No, I'm just kidding. So for us, the idea, the picture, you know how we think in pictures. So if I said to you right now, what's the color of your car? The image you see in your mind is a car. You don't see the spelling car. Our mind thinks like that visually. For all of us, a lot of us actually, the imagery or the vision that comes to our mind when we think about a wife is what we saw with our mothers. When we think about a husband, it's what we saw with our fathers, or with those who played those roles in our lives, maybe a guardian or an auntie or an uncle, you know. But that context has changed. And even for me, and I can speak from my example, I think even my mom struggled with that context. But she didn't have anything else to open the door and have a conversation around, because I think her context was her mother's marriage, where the woman essentially took care of everything that was done in the four corners of the home. So like you labored really well at home, you know, her mom was a farmer, so she would go to the farm, come back early, fix dinner before her father, who was a driver, would come. And that's what she saw. Her father never washed his own items. So what she saw growing up was on Saturday, her mom and her sisters, they all pick the things in the compound, put them, you set the various buckets of water and you wash, you know. And that's what she saw, and that's what she also went into her marriage with.
Yeah.
So although she and her husband went to work Monday through to Friday, she still was the one who was expected to take care of everything. So I think at a point she really got tired. I remember when I was I must have been somewhere around 16, when I asked her, why is it that we have to do, it was a Saturday morning, and she had packed the things to wash my father's things, and my father was quite fashionable. So he changed his shirts, you know. Yeah. So she had packed all of those things to wash, and I could tell she was tired because she was a teacher and she baked to support the family income.
Okay.
So it was like she worked 7 days in a week. So I remember asking her that Saturday morning, why is it that it's the women who have to do this? And she said, because we have created a mess. And I said, who is we? She said, we the women. We've raised men to think that there are some things they cannot do. And if until we get up and raise them differently, we'll continue to perpetuate this, you know. And that was, I saw her tired, you know. So now ladies have found, and thankfully have found the language to discuss those things.
Yeah.
What I don't think we're doing well is if we're bringing the men along. And by us, I'm not talking about the lady who is going into the relationship. She does have a responsibility in that conversation. But I feel that as mothers raising sons, we need to now raise them in ways that help them understand what partnering with a woman is like. Because our sons are, by virtue of how we've raised them, are attracted to ambitious women.
Yeah.
You know, being attracted to an ambitious one means that you have to share in the load.
Yeah.
You know, I really don't like to use the word help, because really when you're doing things in your own house, you're really not helping anyone. You are sharing in the load, you know. So you're really not helping me do the dishes.
Yeah.
You're doing your share of the work in the house.
Yeah.
I say that I didn't do all of those assessments, but I have been lucky. I've been lucky in that the man I married is quite dynamic in his thoughts.
Okay.
So he's not one who feels that it's a woman's work to do particular things. So really early in our relationship, and I think that's how he was raised. So I salute his mom, you know. And I've told her, I sent her a letter one time blessing her, saying that, Charlie, the man you raised for me, you know, because he will eat and he takes his plate to the kitchen to wash it. Okay. It's not somebody's responsibility to come and pick from the dining table, which is what my mom do for my father, you know. And if he craves a particular delicacy, like he likes mpotompoto, if he craves it, for him craving means he has to do it. Yes. But you know, for the average guy, craving is ekua minyampotompota medi. So I have been, although I didn't go through those deliberate assessments, I didn't do marriage counseling.
Okay.
I didn't go through that at all. The only counseling I received was being raised by my mother. And her being available for me until death stole her away 7 years ago. So I didn't go through those 6 months where you go and sit with somebody. But I had all of those. In growing up, I kind of had an example to follow. And my mom shared what she wasn't comfortable with, you know. So I kind of knew those things. But for me, I always say that I've been really, really lucky with the person, the personality of the person. So to my little sister, know yourself, know your journey, as in what's happened, what you bring, or who you become as a result of those experiences, your aspirations, what it is that you want out of life. then know this person that you're inviting to partner you on this journey. What is it that they also bring? What their experiences have made them become? What they aspire for life? But also discuss the current context. You know, now there's no conversation around, okay, well, I haven't had conversations on chop money, but you need to discuss those things, your current context. So discuss them. Are you, I haven't had those conversations because it doesn't exist in my house.
Yeah.
You know, but the two of you need to really discuss your context. Are you going to be in that relationship where one, and I say one because depending on who's earning more, maybe you are the one who is going to be contributing more, because now the women go out to work and some women do genuinely earn a lot more than their husbands. So how are we going to handle those things in the house? What are the things that my recreational interest, for instance, the things that I like doing, all right? The things that I'm passionate about are very different from what my husband is passionate about. Again, remember I said I didn't have those conversations.
Yeah.
But with as I delved into the journey of what I currently do, training to become a coach and a mentor, because I actually went through training to do that.
Yeah.
I learned that it was actually okay, and that there was nothing wrong because I am a work in progress, and my spouse is work in progress. Our relationship is also a journey.
Yeah.
So there are some things that I probably will not find in the confines of my choice. What's my commitment to making it work in spite of? All right. So know yourself, know your spouse, discuss your context. How are you guys going to be handling money? How are you guys going to be handling raising kids? What's your ideology for raising your children, for instance? How we do things in the home, you know? So have those conversations by all means, but then those things that are important to you that you cannot compromise on, because like you, I've also seen quite a number of divorces. I've seen people disagree on the fact that one of them put it nicely, said, I feel like a glorified house help. Because then I'm working, you're working, but I get to do everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm tired all the time. I've heard people also divorce on monetary issues.
Yeah.
Then there's infidelity as well, where maybe one person is not getting, and I say one person because it's not only men, it's women as well, where your sexual needs are not being met. So you find it somewhere else, and the other partner finds out and they're really, really uncomfortable. So really discuss those things that you cannot compromise on. If you're this adventurous person who likes to try new things and you want to try that in your sexual life as well, discuss it. I think it's if you're going to embark on this journey with a person, it's worth having those conversations.
Right.
But most importantly, after you've made your choice, because you've seen quite a bit of what you want in that person, because remember, I don't think you find any individual who has 100% of everything you're looking for. You know, you probably see what you're comfortable with when you're making the choice.
Yeah.
And then as you embark on that journey, because you as an individual, you've changed. Because I don't think if you asked me 22 years ago when I got married, what my business interests were, they were the same as now.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not that woman. I've changed, I've grown, you know, but somebody that I can express those changes with. And if he or she is not one to be having those conversations with, the maturity to accept that I can have those conversations with a colleague at work, a friend, a girlfriend, or somebody who is on the same level, but also keep my marriage, because there's maybe 90% of what I want in a guy, or 95% of what I want in this person, and the others I can make adjustments to make it work. So for me, I think that's the kind of long and short conversation I'll have with my little sister.
So because of our time, last question. Dating, courting, marriage. People think it's a natural progression that has to happen. So if I don't really know the difference between dating and courting though, but if they get to a point where they expect to be married and the marriage doesn't come, people get disappointed and do all sorts of things that hurts the other person. What will you say about that?
What will I say about when things don't happen the way you want it to happen? Mm-hmm. So remember in the beginning, I said that you will do life notwithstanding, so long as you're alive. So once you're born and you survive the birth process, yours is to do life. Mm-hmm. Now, you will do life, and how life is done, life has its peak moments and valley seasons. Mm-hmm. So even when you choose, when that person actually agrees to come on that journey with you, you guys, the two of you, will still have peak moments and valley seasons. So if at a certain point, one of you, and it could be the man or the woman, feel that this person is not the one to do this journey with, again, depending on people's personalities, there are some people who, by virtue of their personalities and their experiences, are able to verbalize it, and in a way that it's like you take a job, you know, you thought this was your dream job, you do it for a while, or maybe it even is your dream job, but then at a point you want out. You've discussed how you will opt out when you want to opt out, you know. So I think in the beginning of the relationship, it's important that you guys have a conversation around, so if this is not our thing and I want out, how do we handle it? Just like talking about, if I'm upset, how should we handle it? How would you want us to, that's how I typically have conversations when I'm upset. Like me, when I'm upset, I typically will withdraw for a while. I like to deal with the issue before I speak about it. Whereas my husband is the opposite. When he's upset, he wants to verbalize and speak it out. So let's do. So I think that having that conversation, and again, in my case, it was my husband who took the lead in that. He said to me, I remember, because I was in school, and when he asked that he wanted to marry me, and he asked me to ask my parents what it takes to marry a girl, their daughter. He said, we had a conversation, and I've forgotten how it was triggered, but he said, I remember asking him that, what if my parents say no? You know, what if my father, because my mom, we kind of knew we had my mom's blessings. It's my father who didn't know. And he said, well, if there's no agreement, we really have to call it quits. So he kind of, by virtue of his experiences, he belonged to this fellowship where they had equipped them to speak about things like that. So having those conversations was not tough for him. I didn't have that then. So he was able to have conversations, which I felt like, okay, wow, you know. So he kind of made it, kind of laid the grounds on the things that how we will end it if my parents were not comfortable with this whole arrangement. So I think even going to my parents, I knew that if my father said no or prolonged it, it was one that could lead to an end in the relationship, you know. But also for even if you haven't had that, I think that just like any endeavor in life, it has an element of risk. I think every relationship has a huge element of risk. All right. And my mom used to say it, she used to vary what, you know how the good book says you love your neighbor as you love yourself. But how we emphasize loving the neighbor and forget the self. My mom used to say to her daughters, because she had 3 daughters, she used to say to us, you know, when you love, you have to have a bit of the heart for yourself too. I guess it was her way of saying that you go into that knowing that it's 50-50, you know, or that the person can, the other one that you thought would be this person that you embark on this journey will probably observe things or have their misgivings halfway through that process. But I think if we speak about it from the onset, it probably will make it easier to now talk about it when we begin to see things that we're not comfortable with. I've had people in my line of work come to me who, both women, and especially women, who want to call off the relationship with a guy, but are not sure how they should handle it. And so they give me a background on how maybe the gentleman has reacted in times past when things didn't go their way, but they know this is not it and they want to end it. So I think that if you have a conversation early enough, but if you didn't have that conversation, it's to knowing how you speak, but also how the person communicates, extremely important, to have that conversation in a way that they get it. to say, the examples that I have seen happen recently from clients is to say, we need to have, some of them have to prepare the partner ahead of time. So I will be coming at 4 o'clock. We really do need to have a very serious conversation that have been deferring for a while. You know, so that's prepping for some people who require prepping. That's prepping them. So they are wondering what conversation this is, you know. And then when you go is to say, and these are real examples, to say, what is really not working for you. So it's not attacking the personality of the person, but speaking to the issues and why they are critical for you and why you can't let them go. So I've observed situations around religion, for instance, and how initially they thought that they could make this work, but the deeper they get into the relationship, they kind of realize they can't. It's not an allowance they are willing to make, or a compromise that they are willing to make. And then some observe that there was a particular case where this person observed that the gentleman doesn't want help. His notion of the man in the relationship is one who did everything, you know. So she kind of picked that vibe really early and wasn't sure this is what she wanted. She had seen that in her parents' marriage and wasn't comfortable embarking on the same. But the gentleman, by virtue of his enculturation, also felt that he's the one who has to do it all, you know. So it was a conversation that was, for her, it was a deal breaker.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
As in, it's not one that she wanted to compromise on, where it's okay, you are the one who wants to do everything, you do it, I'll keep my money. If you're tired, come and speak to me. From the onset, she wanted it to be clear that this is partnership. We'll do it together. So if you didn't want a partnering agreement, you wanted more like a group.
A boss.
Yes.
Subordinate.
Yes. Or an acquisition, you know. A big company coming to take over a small company.
You have to do everything once.
So for her, it was a deal breaker, one that she wasn't sure she was going to take chances on, you know. So they had those conversations, and some managed to make things work, others had to call it quits.
So basically, everything is communication, in-depth, deliberate communication.
Intentional, deliberate. You do need to have those conversations. Very important, really, very important. Because think about it, this is the person you're saying you want to do this life with, but you can't have conversations, or there are no-go areas when it comes to, so it's talking about it from the onset, how, and then sharing your journey of growth, really. I used to like this, but the more I see, the more I realize that, no, that's not what I liked anymore. I've changed. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, but sharing that journey, because you know, you say you want to do it with this person. So sharing that journey with the person.
So it's not all about mobile money, restaurants, and having fun. It's about,
what's the mobile money for?
Most of the women ask men for mobile money if they are in a relationship. I mean, send me Momo, send me.
Okay, again, remember I said in the beginning that a lot of women, women, by virtue of our enculturation, when we think marriage, the image we see is the image. No, not the image of our parents.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we really need to ask ourselves that question of, for me, is that, do I want to repeat the same marriage my mother had? So if that's not what you want to repeat, if that works for you, remember it's an individual journey.
Yeah.
So if that works for you and your idea is a man who comes, seeks your hand in marriage, and now takes over everything in the house. He takes care of food, takes care of everything in the house. Yes, and then you are there as his companion for conversations and for sex and making babies and cooking his meals. If that partnership works for you, who am I to criticize you?
I know.
Or who am I to speak against your journey? But if you're seeking a partnering relationship, as in us doing this together, then it's okay to really sit and think, what sponsors your thoughts? What makes you think that a man handles everything in the house? He takes care of school fees, he feeds me, he takes care of the home, and my place is to make sure that I convert what he gives me into food, warm the bed, make the babies, raise them. That's not what I want. And I was sure what I wanted. As it changed, we speak about it, but I came into the relationship with a partnering mindset. I wanted one that we partner, we do things together. One that is really a partnership. You know, it's as we see in science, we come together. it's not one takes over the other and everything changes. That's not what I wanted. But that said, for the one who wants what marriage used to be with our parents, and that's what works for them, because there are men who also want that. So if they find that woman, I think where the calamity comes is where a woman or a man who wants a different example from what they experienced now chooses to partner with somebody who wanted exactly what they're running away from. So I'm running away from what I saw in my parents and my parents' marriage, but I'm partnering somebody who wants what I'm running away from. So then halfway through, but we are all excited when we first meet because Charlie, we gel our emotions and then everything, you know, then he's great. When he touches me, electricity runs through my body, you know, and then we start this journey. God, who has a sense of humor, sometimes sends the babies really early, sometimes not too early, you know. So if the babies come really early, 5 years into it, you're asking yourself, wait, where am I on my mom's journey again? This is not what I wanted, you know. And this person is but right from the beginning, this is what you wanted. So where are you going? Why are you running away? Then it's now you have to really clarify your thoughts. No, this is really not what I wanted. What I wanted was a partnering relationship. You're treating me like your child. I can't do all of this. I just think you should know what you want. Have an image of it. Be able to verbalize it. If you can't even verbalize it and you are just so sure that you don't want the image you saw growing up, is to say, I don't want the image I saw when I grew up, when I was growing up. And this is what I saw. So you can speak to what you don't like. But it's not all about Momo. I think we should give women a lot more credit for that. More and more, I'm meeting women who own it, who own their lives, you know, like the shoes they wear, they bought it, you know, the dresses on their body, and then buy them, you know. I want nice specs, I go get it, you know. I have a car, I want a car, I go get it, you know. I think we need to give women credit for that. I don't like it when we bucket all women, put all women in a box and say they're asking for Momo. I don't ask for Momo. I have friends who don't ask for Momo. You know, that said, I still read on social media people who say things like that. So I think different strokes for different folks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll be coming back. You know we have a lot.
Sure.
So thank you so much for today. I'm really grateful for your time.
You're most welcome. I'm going to ask you to make me a promise. When people start commenting on this video and somebody says something that you are not happy about,
I shouldn't talk.
Put your right hand on your chest and say, I am quiet. Promise that
not to talk.
That if somebody criticizes this, it's their opinion. And they are entitled to it. And I'm entitled to mine. So help me God.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you too. Okay. All right. But before you go, tell me, so what are two things that you're walking away from this conversation with? Just two.
Two things. Well, I like the man, if my children walking on two legs, take traits of him. And you should have deliberate conversations. If it doesn't work, how are we walking away? If I'm angry, how do I express my anger?
How do we resolve our issues?
How does the person talk about it, and how do we resolve our issues? Talk about money, how we want to partner, how we want to work it out. Basically, those are the things I do.
Yeah, but I think most importantly, also have a great sense of what you want. So an image of what you want, you know, because that fuels the conversations that you have. Are you looking for partnership, or you're looking for an acquisition? And I'm using partnership and acquisition in the business terms, like one coming to take over the other, or you're looking for one where we're doing it together. Yeah, so once you have that image, then the kind of conversations you have will be fueled by that image of what it is that you want. So does the person want the same, so that we can have those conversations? Yeah.
So much.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to like this video, share your views in the comment section, and subscribe to this channel.